Welcome to the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica, the podcast for people who want to learn how to be the most encouraging person on the planet and enhance their encouragement superpowers. Now here's your host, Justin.
How's it going, everybody? As all of you might know, if you haven't checked out our podcast, go check out my grandmother, who's one of the most encouraging people on the planet, episode number 2. If you haven't watched my grandmother, you're missing out. I was actually listening to her in the shower. That's how excited I was. And if you're not that excited about her, I am. So go check out my grandmother, Carmelina Fatica. She's the best, 104 years old. But this podcast is all about encouragement and how we can encourage others. And we know that during the Christmas time, as I like to say, Christmas, who the heck is Chris anyways, right? Is during Christmas time, it's tough. People have passed away. People might not want us at Christmas. They might want us at Christmas. Sometimes you don't know, sometimes you do know, you know? And the challenge of maybe you want to go to these parties, maybe you don't want to go to these parties. It's a lot of emotions. You know, even family dynamics change, evolve. Things can rise up. There's a lot into play. And so I wanted to bring on one of my most encouraging coaches. We all need encouragement coaches, every one of us. We need at least, I say, you need at least 4 or 5 of them that can talk you off the cliff, that can keep you focused. And there's been times in my own life that I even said, man, it's tough at home to deal with my family. And this encouragement coach, one of my greatest encouragement coaches of all time, is here. So I thought I'd bring her in to give you a chance to find out how to get through the Christmas time in an encouraging way. It's my wife, Mary Fatica. Here she is. Now, I can't believe she came on, and we've actually missed how many times to get you on here? A few. We've had a couple times to get, but she made a sacrifice to come on the Encouragement Conquers All podcast. And her role, for those of you who don't know, is to be a wife and a mother. So she doesn't really, do many of these shows or come and join me even on trips. People are always like, when's Mary going to talk? Because she has a lot more to offer than you. And I'm like, oh, that's for sure. But I can tell you that she's been a big encouragement. Why do you see, though? You know me, I love encouragement. Like today, it was one of the best days of my life. I'm in the cannoli shop, and all of a sudden one of the homeless guys goes, is there an amazing person here? It's like, you're amazing. And they came just to come give me a hug. And I love encouragement, but what do you see the role of encouragement in this world right now?
Well, I think that encouragement is important because it builds on something good. You recognize something good in someone and you call that out so that a person can know that they're seen and loved. I think one of the most beautiful things about encouragement is that it leaves nothing to regret. You don't have anything to regret when you expend your energy and your attention on letting someone know what you think is great about them. Sometimes it's encouraging to call somebody on or call them out for something that maybe is going to help them to grow. But ultimately, you don't have regrets. And so when there's that inner peace and lack of regret, you know you've done the right thing. And for me, I don't see a time where being truly, authentically encouraging that I've felt a regret.
No, and I know, like, what you're talking about is like in our marriage, like when I was younger especially, if I'd be playing video games until like 3 a.m. or something, that you'd be like, okay, are you gonna go, are you gonna go to bed here? Or if I didn't have an understanding of how to be prudent or to say the things, and you'd hold me accountable, like that's encouraging. And I think sometimes we think encouragement is just, a lot of people, when I say, we need to encourage people, it could mean to raise a higher bar, a higher standard for somebody. Like when you came to me and you were like, are you going to be able to coach this team? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And say, well, they might not be able to, get to where you want them to be. And I think that sometimes during, the Christmas time especially, like when we're away from people for so long, and we kind of expect like that they'll be at a certain place, it can kind of be discouraging. I know that my own family, I'm so excited to tell them maybe about a book I wrote or something going on in my life, and they're like, all right, go make the raviolis, or or figure stuff out. So that it can be challenging, and for me, you've always been somebody that would find ways to get me back on track, and that is a way to encourage others. But I don't know. I know that it's been a process for us, as my wife, the journey. And you always tell me, like, I never really thought about like where we would be, but now that you look back and where we are right now, and I've been doing this, going out, hopefully encouraging the world for 25 years. Like, where do you see things in our family life and see things in the mission to go encourage people? Is this what you expected, or is this not what you expected? And what are your thoughts on that?
So I certainly didn't expect any of this, but I think in part that has to do with my own personality. Like, I'm not make a big plan and set a vision and head for it. I live in the moments that I'm in and do my best to love the people around me. And so in terms of what I expected or didn't expect, I never expected this, but I didn't have a whole lot of other expectations that this doesn't match up with. So I don't know if that's the question.
Yeah, and getting on that. No, that is the question. But what I think during Christmas and also with our relationships, I think why you are one of the more encouraging people in my life on a daily basis. You really are, and you are with. I mean, my mother just adores you. Like my grandmother adores you. My dad gets a kick out of you, right?
Yes.
My dad gets a kick out. Your parents adore you for the person you are. All of our staff just look up to you and see you as an exceptional person.
They don't have to live with me.
No, yeah. But I just think anybody, when they come across you, they see you as encouraging. And I think you bring up something that I miss sometimes, like when you don't have an expectation for, like, before you hang out with that person, right, or an expectation for your life, you can be in that present moment. And just your presence is encouraging. And how do you do that? Because you know me, I'm always like, all right, I'm gonna have this team and we're gonna change the world. Like, I'm thinking about like how we're gonna change the world with a team. You're like, just show up for practice, man. Right.
That's how you do it, one thing at a time. I don't know that I can give I don't know.
How do you do that?
That's just, I don't do it on purpose. I don't know. That's who I am. That's how I was made. I mean, there's vices and virtues to all of our personalities, right? So, and on the flip side of the coin of being low in the expectations department, and by the way, I do have expectations on relationships and people and things. I'm not like,
I'm saying
whatever.
When you hang out with them, you don't.
But I don't. I try not to. But at the same time, that can lead to the struggle of like, getting on a path and, finishing a task. That's the difficulty that I have. But anyway, I think I don't know. I just.
So for me, when I look at this, like, I think you've had, like, I was joking with you yesterday, we were texting.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, Beth,
Oh, yes.
Because you were.
I was worried about how one of our kids was going to receive one of your acts of encouragement.
Yeah. So
it's like, are you sure that this is okay for that kid? And you were like teasing me, calling me Beth.
But what I was getting at your mother is
But really, because she's so concerned with how other people receive her love.
Which is beautiful.
In a good way, like not in a negative way, but you said that because I was absolutely behaving in a way that my mom
would do it 100%.
And I would say, like, that's probably one of the ways I became who I am.
Correct.
That she raised me, and I saw in her so many beautiful gifts and ways of loving others that, like, I wanted to emulate. So I'm very fortunate to have had that.
Yeah, and I think it's modeling. That's how we become this way. Because your mother is probably, she's always been for me.
Yeah.
She's always seen me as good. She's always given me the benefit of that. She's always been the person to, like, when I come in the room, how's this going? How's that going? Are you okay? Oh man, how they treated you there. That wasn't nice. They don't know your heart. They don't see. So she always saw and the words I'm using from Ken Blanchard is like, she's seen the pearl of goodness in me, and she sees the pearl of goodness in others.
She sees the pearl of goodness in most everyone that she's around. I think that's one of her many gifts. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think modeling is how you've gotten here. For sure, it's your nature and this and that.
Yeah.
But who are other?
You're right.
Who are other great? I think a lot of us have to go, especially when we're going into Christmas or anything in our life. We have to go, who's somebody we can reach out to before we go to these parties that we're nervous about? Who are the most encouraging people on the planet? Who are people who are caring and loving and want what's best for us, but want what's best for others? Who can reach out to? Who are other models? I mean, I have me, I like, Danny Buggs, and, he's been like a big encouragement to me, my grandmother, Ken Blanchard. I could go through a list of people. I have so many of them. Yeah. But who would be your people that are like the people that taught you how to be this way?
Well, first and foremost would be
your
mom and my dad. They've both been excellent examples of how to prioritize well in life, to recognize the important relationships and put the time into those relationships. So for sure, my parents. I think my relationship with you has been a great.
Am I one of your top 5 encouragement coaches?
Of course.
I mean, come on.
I read the teleprompter. Just kidding.
It was on the notes, right?
No, but in reality, so I tend a little bit more toward a melancholy spirit, but because you have such a positive outlook on things, it's helped me to see a different way of taking in the exact same situation. So for me, that's been a huge gift, and since we're on this journey and headed to heaven together, please God.
Let's hope.
Yeah, it's really important that in this relationship that we can learn and grow from one another. So I would say for sure, my relationship with you has been a really big influence on that element of me, the encouragement part. And I also am very fortunate to have some really good friends, sisters in Christ, who are walking with me in this journey. I have a few that come to mind, but so many along the way, But I have one dear friend who, whenever we check in with each other, it's always, it's a temporal, but it's also a spiritual. And she's very good at, calling me on in the areas of my spiritual walk and encouraging me in the areas of, growing closer to God and recognizing where I need to maybe put a little bit more effort into that relationship with the Lord, but also recognizing all the beautiful ways that He is so present in my everyday life. And I think being aware of that piece for myself helps me to be a better person for others. And I have another very good friend who is hilarious and makes me laugh a lot, but also is very good at the practical side of life, recognizing that yes, there's a spiritual element to everything, but there's a very practical way of addressing situations, and sometimes it's simple, and I need that, I need that too. So I think for me, it's been that, and I'm very fortunate in the sense that I have had wonderful family members and in-laws and examples throughout the course of my life who have been steady and who have been willing to sacrifice, and I've seen it. So it's been a journey that's been filled with encouragement coaches, if you will.
Yeah, no, but I think we have to look at it like that, because things can get tough as you get older, or as things change or people pass away.
Yeah.
To get encouraged during Christmas time can be a great challenge.
Sure.
A great challenge. I think about we just got asked to do 200 more raviolis or whatever it is. How do you do that? Or we just got asked to, my mother, who I love with all my heart, who's probably one of my, I always tell people, my joke is always, I say, if I killed somebody, she'd say I did it the best way. She doesn't like that joke, but I think it's hilarious because she just
Understandably.
She But she just like really has always believed in me and loved
Yes.
me. Even like on Facebook the other day, she's sending me hearts and going, I miss you so much. And you know, she just adores me. But even with all of that, it still isn't easy Christmas.
No.
You know, and I think for me the hardest thing is like, you know, I've just been recently doing this, like, wow, I could only have 10 more Christmases with a family member, or 2 or 5. Or you start to kind of like count that. Like, especially my parents, you know, 78, 79, you know, it's not going to be forever.
Right.
You know, and how's that going to look? And you know, and I think about that. I mean, Eddie Murphy has that joke where like, you think you'll be around forever? Think about it like this. You only got 70. If you're 9 years old, you might only have 70 Christmases left. You know, he like breaks, he's joking about it. But so, I mean, what's hard for you during Christmas time?
Well, I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true. Like recognizing the finality of some things and recognizing that we never know whether we're promised next Christmas, right? So to be present as best we can in the Christmases that we have. I think it's always tricky with family dynamics, you know, trying to love all the people in the best way that you can. And there's, you know, I mean, for me, I still have my parents, I still have my siblings, I still have your parents and your siblings. And so when I go to experience a Christmas, I'm focusing on my own kids and my own family, but also recognizing that it's a gift to have all the people that have been in my life all along still be here. But also to identify that while that's the case for me, like my mom and dad, your mom and dad, like they've experienced transitions over these years.
Lots
where
of people
like
they lost.
all the Christmases they had when they were young look entirely different now, you know?
Yeah.
And just to kind of keep that in mind and the sensitivity to that when we're with them.
Yeah, that's important.
I also very much struggle with just in Advent recognizing the season that it is and the beautiful gift that it is to prepare for Christmas and not getting so caught up in all of the to-do lists that kind of ramp up at this time of year. I think I probably can speak for a lot of moms when I say that that's something that can weigh on us, you know, because we take on a lot of the responsibility to create the magic or whatever it is of that Christmas morning with your family. And so for me, it's just a constant, you know, reiteration that it's also very important to be present in the moments that lead to that and to not let those things take over. But it's very easy for them to do that.
Yeah, like today we went to church and we get cannolis, right? Yeah. You know, to get ready for Christmas. And I think you're right. Like for me, you know, I was doing a video, I think it was yesterday, and it just reminded me, like kind of shook me out of it, even though I was giving the message. It shook me out of it that like, what if this was the last day on this earth? Like, why am I getting caught up in all these things that don't matter?
Sure.
And I think during Christmas you can get caught up in not just like, oh, it's about presents, but even like, hey, how's this person going to react? Or what's this going to happen? Right. But I think we need to get caught up in who we can encourage, who we can build up. And so for me, like, I always want to like, who's the person in the family that probably is suffering the most? That's how my brain works.
I know it does, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, how can I get ready to meet them?
Yeah.
To meet them and meet them where they're at, and even if they hurt me, right?
Yeah.
How can I find a way to really let them know I see goodness with them? And I think it's important during this time. There's another podcast, check it out, Susie Kelly. She'll be going on soon. And her husband died, and it's her first Christmas without her husband. And we were talking, and she goes, it's interesting because the things you thought you'd miss
aren't the things you miss.
Yeah, she says, I just miss him being in the car and saying nothing.
Yeah.
And being on a drive for 10 hours. I didn't need him to speak. I just want him to be there. Yeah. That's what she said.
That's
and
funny.
We've joked about that, right? We joked. And I told her, you know what I do? Like if Mary's gone for an overnight, which is rare, and we need more.
Very
yeah.
Extremely
rare. We gotta get more of those, even though I'm like, God help me.
Yes.
Because you know what I'm gonna say. So I she'll be out with her girlfriend just for the night, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and Dad, I'm not babysitting, right?
Right. There's no babysitting when you're the father. That's called parenting.
Yes. So I'm the dad, right? No baby. We joked about that earlier.
Dadding.
I'm dadding, not babysitting.
Uh-huh.
And I'm dadding, and I get the kids, you get them, the younger ones to bed.
Yeah.
The older ones might be doing their thing. And all of a sudden I look out the window and I'm like,
when's she coming home?
oh my goodness. When's she coming home? And as sad as this sounds, there's been times I've cried.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, man, but what if she never came home? Not because she wouldn't.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know.
No,
but
I always plan to come home.
But yeah. I'm like, man, this is horrible.
Yeah.
And I think we have to feel that, understand that, think that before Christmas about these people that are going through these things. Mm-hmm. They've lost a lot of people. So if they say something jerky or they misstep or they're not the most perfect person,
right.
Let's look at the whole person,
right.
not the person that didn't listen to you because you got this big thing going on, or you miss them and you wish they paid attention. They might not even have the energy. Times that family members have to stay in their bed sometimes during Christmas.
Right. And
maybe you get upset about that.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
It is.
Yeah, what helps you with that? I mean, I don't know. I've never, it's the fun part about interviewing. I never get to ask these kind of questions.
Okay, first go like this.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks for that.
You're
See,
welcome.
she's an encouragement coach. You're encouraging me not to have nose boogies.
All right. I'm sure you can cut that, right? Yeah.
No way. You saying you want to cut it is even better. You think I care?
No, I know you don't. I know.
care about when I love somebody.
So what's the question? Because I didn't understand.
No. It's tough to interview your wife. I mean, come on.
Sure.
Yeah. You're like,
I know, because normally we're just chatting.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the question? No, the question is what helps you to keep focused on if somebody says something or does something. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
There's people doing things that maybe you're like, I don't know why they're doing that.
Right.
How do you keep centered to really have an encouraging presence at Christmas, even though things are not going the way you want them to?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you need to take a little break. Sometimes you need to walk away and get 5 minutes in a room on your own to regroup if things aren't going the way you'd hope. But I think hopefully in that time that you would recognize and remember just exactly what you said. We don't know why a person is responding the way they are or acting the way they are. And, sometimes if you're a safe person, you might take a little bit more of a hit than not when
a great
when
point.
There's this stress that's outside of what we see. So I think probably it's just that. It's just doing your very best to just remember that each situation is different and that we don't know. We don't know 95% of what has been going on when we're not around. So just offering grace and the benefit of the doubt.
Another topic is another challenging thing during Christmas is gift giving.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But you've created, and I have to give you credit for this, you always got to give credit. I'm quoting, this is Mary Fatica, and she got it from some of her family.
Yeah, I got this. Are you talking about the 3 gifts?
Yeah, how you give gifts. And I think this is a great way to be able to, keep a structure for your kids during Christmas.
Well, it was actually a friend of mine who came up with this sentiment. We had very young kids, and I was struggling to try to figure out how to make sure that we don't go overboard, because we always agreed from the beginning, before we even had children, that we did not want our Christmas to be so centered on the material stuff that it missed out on the whole point. Jesus is born, and we're
Christmas is about
that.
Jesus, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know you're not aware.
I'm not aware. We're striving to...
I know no one will believe it.
No one will believe it. The whole country. Jesus.
But anyway,
Jesus.
So the idea that I really fell in love with was 3 gifts, just like Jesus received when the 3 kings came to visit him. a gold gift, a frankincense gift, and a myrrh gift. And so basically your gold gift is like a coveted item, something that they really are hopeful for, you know. A frankincense gift would be a gift that, I always get these backwards, but I'm pretty sure this is right. So the frankincense gift is the gift that is something that helps your spirit grow closer to God. So, you know, it could be a spiritual gift. It could be a gift that is speaks to the hobby of a person, because maybe something that they really care about doing is something that elevates their spirit closer to the Lord. So a gold gift, a frankincense gift, and then a myrrh gift. And the myrrh gift is a bodily gift of some kind. So it could be clothing, it could be bedding, it could be lotions.
Underwear.
It could be underwear and socks. It could be any of those things. So there's a very practical element to it, but it also helps us to remember that much like Christ, who we are celebrating, you know, the gifts have meaning, and they should be focused on something about the person that is receiving the gifts, but also keeping us kind of on track for not getting out of control.
Yeah, and I think that's helped us.
It has helped a
Yeah.
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And our kids actually really, they've adopted it very much. So at this point, they're like, "Hey, here's my
Something trying to maneuver.
yeah. Can I combine this?" And we just laugh. But no, ultimately, it's been a great guide for us for that. And then Santa, we do have one Santa gift, because we do allow the Santa magic to be part of the day, although we don't make it centralized.
No, not at all.
We love Saint Nick, though. We celebrate
Yes.
Saint
Yeah,
Nick's
he's great.
Saint Nick's feast day, and we had put the shoes
I
out.
even got
Everybody
some
got
treats.
some gold.
But they stole them.
No, they didn't.
Oh, they
it's just
did?
on the counter,
Oh,
because you
okay.
left them out, and I just moved.
I thought they stole them. I was thinking
No,
about
I can give them to you when you
All
get
right.
home. Nobody stole your gold chocolate.
All right, well, I'll give them away then if they didn't steal them. All right?
Okay.
No, but what also could be taxing during Christmas is travel.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we've been traveling on Christmas Day
Yeah.
since we've been married
Yeah.
to travel my parents.
Yeah.
Now, I can share the reason I chose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we chose to do it as a team because we live a covenant marriage. If you know what that is, like a covenant marriage is where if Mary said, no, we're not traveling on Christmas to see your family, we'll travel the next day to see your family. And I said, no, we're going to travel on Christmas. It's not what God wants of us if you're saying a different day and I'm saying a different.
Right.
It's only what God wants of us if we agree on it.
Right.
And we agreed up until now, it hasn't changed yet, that we travel on Christmas Day to see my family. And for me, the reason I think travel is an important thing is, for me, I have to ask myself the question, what's best for the betterment of my family as a whole, for us and for my parents? And I always, and I still think to this day, that what was best is that we would travel on Christmas Day, even though we got to hustle out of the house and what have you. And it's been, I think that sacrifice has been a beautiful gift to give my mother and my father, that they know that we really prioritize them, and it's one little sacrifice in the grand scheme of things to show them that. Why do you still do that?
Because it's what we do. I mean, I don't mind it. It's work.
Yeah, it's super tough work.
But at the same time, it wasn't always. We didn't always travel on Christmas Day.
Yeah,
So
do it Christmas
it's kind
Eve.
of evolved. We used to go on the 23rd.
Yes.
Then we would go
The 24th.
and then be there for Christmas Eve and
Yeah.
Christmas morning, and then it got to be a little bit more than we could make work to relocate Christmas. So now we get up in the morning, we have our morning and a little breakfast together as a family, and then we get on the road and head out. So I think it's important, because it's important to recognize where your priorities are and do what you can to put them into action. And not everybody is called to that.
No.
Some families are called to be at home and say that the tradition we want to instill in our home is that we're in our home together and spending it and welcoming other people, or whatever the case may be. So for us, we do spend Thanksgiving with my family. So Christmas, in turn, is with Justin's family. And when we lived in New Jersey, it was that way. And when we moved to Syracuse, it's been that way. So I think it's I like it. The kids enjoy the time with their cousins.
They've never complained about it, have they?
No. I mean, I think it's
little stuff if it's early in the morning.
Yeah, but mostly no. They like to go, and they love Grammy and Gramps. They love spending time with everybody there. So, yeah.
Yeah, and how have you seen us? And we can always do better at this. But how can we make Jesus, as we said, Jesus is part of Christmas. And we were joking about that. But how can we make Jesus more a part of Christmas, or how have we done that?
So, I think there's always room for improvement. I think that the season of Advent is a beautiful season of preparation that the church gives us, and it's a gift. It helps us to remember that we're preparing for something important. So, so over the last several years, we've instituted some different things throughout Advent that have just helped us to keep in mind the spirit of why we are in this moment. And
they get chocolates every day.
Yeah, so we have that silly traditional Advent calendar that you pop the thing open and they get a chocolate. But we also have a Jesse tree, and so there's an ornament that goes with each of the scripture readings that lead us in prophecy and preparation to the birth of Christ through the course of the Old Testament and into the New Testament, obviously. And so every morning there's a reading from scripture, and then they get to put an ornament on a little tree that we keep. So that's been something that has been really good.
And confession, we make
sure we get to confession, and obviously there's feast days within the month that we get to go to Mass. So that's another thing in addition to Sundays, obviously.
Yeah, it's something that I've done for over 20 years now. I think it's 22 or 23 years is the Christmas giveaway. And so my mom always did this. She'd wake us up early and say, you got to come help wrap gifts, and then you got to come give gifts to those that are in need in the community.
Yeah.
And so I adopted that, and really our kids, they've helped out every year with that, and they've been a part of it, and that's a great way. And so it's finding ways, how can we give back during this time of year? How can we in our social society, how can we care for others? Like our team just recently made bags, and I had that bag. It was nice. And it was one of my player's ideas and his family's ideas.
Yeah.
So it's another thing is asking people that are in your life, what can we do
together
to get ready? Remember our brother-in-law, Adam, he had that idea.
Yeah.
Where we go help the homeless, during Christmas, and our whole family went and helped, which is awesome. What are ways that we can get out there and say to our friends, say to those that maybe aren't even in a faith circle, the team's not a faith circle.
No.
But it's a giving circle, and they're unbelievable people.
Yeah.
So that's been something that's helped us. What would you say is the most taxing part of Christmas? I think the most taxing part is for me is the thinking about all of what you have to go through. I mean,
that's nice.
It is. I'm like, oh my goodness.
That's very taxing.
You've got this. You've got this. I'm joking, but
I know.
But it is I think, especially for mothers and fathers, in the intricacy of every little detail.
Yeah.
When you're in on every little detail, people come to those people who are the encouragers more, because you are one of the most encouraging people on the planet, even though you don't, we had to change the, title of the book for many reasons, but you are. But a lot of people come to you to ask you to do things during Christmas time, don't you think? No, I think
just normal stuff, family stuff.
Yeah, but when somebody's encouraging, they will get asked to do more things.
Sure. So you have to be able to have good boundaries and recognize when you are overdone.
No. Yeah, man.
I don't know.
You don't think she's like, I didn't like that question. I'm gonna move on for another question. That was not a good question. Well, no, but so the other thing that I know that's been good is our relationship. What founded us, our relationship was Jesus.
Yes.
That's
right.
That's what our relationship has stood on since day one. Yeah. The things I'm passionate about, you not necessarily be passionate about every one of those things.
Right.
right? And things you're passionate about, I might not be. But the one thing we are passionate about is our faith. You know, people might not know, but like, why do you keep, there were times in our marriage where your faith was here, and there's times in our marriage your faith was here. But why have you kept your faith going? You know, like, what makes you keep your faith going, you know, no matter ups or downs or challenges? Like, what keeps you going? Why do you keep going to Christ? You could say tomorrow, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
I can't imagine that.
You can't imagine.
No, but I think mainly because Jesus has done so much for me. He's shown his faithfulness to me so profoundly in different times in my life that I really can't imagine a life without him being in the middle of it.
So what are those most profound times that you say, man, like, this really, like, what,
Well,
for you?
So it's hard to.
A moment.
Always a lot of backstories with things, and I don't want to get into all that. But
all the backstory. Watch out for those backstories.
I know, but that's always the way, right? But what I would say is this: that his faithfulness has been tangible. You know, where there have been times where I wondered, like, how is this going to work out, or how are we going to make it through this particular stage? And every time he comes through in a way that is easy to see that it was him, because it couldn't be anyone else, you know. I mean, he's given us 5 wonderful blessings, our kids, who I love.
Yeah, what do you think of these characters?
I think they're great.
No, Jojo, but this guy Jojo, he's a character.
He is a character. It's funny.
Yeah, he's super funny.
Yeah.
But what do you see the best in Jojo?
The best in Jojo, I think, is his heart. His heart. I think that he has a very sensitive heart, and he might kid around or seem goofy when he's not really ready to share that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's an honor to know that about him.
Yeah, he's the gentle warrior, right?
Yeah.
And he is.
Yeah.
And what about Catherine?
Oh gosh, Catherine has an uncanny ability to make whoever she's with feel like they're the most important person in the room, and that's a really beautiful gift.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable, because she's the beautiful strength.
Yeah.
She's the beautiful strength. If you don't know,
I see where we're going here.
No, this was not on the script.
I'm just joking, yeah.
I had to get off the script.
Yeah, so I know I knew that would happen.
Is that okay? She hasn't said no. Before we started this, you said,
yeah.
All right, look, you know.
I reserve the right to say, we'll not discuss this in our podcast.
All right, what about John Paul? This guy, you got to meet John Paul. He's a character. What do you think about?
Well, as I'm sure you'll say, he's the shining light.
The shining light. Is he?
So he is. He sees the world one detail at a time. So he knows when somebody needs some extra encouragement or extra time from him. Recently we went to this gathering, and he said to me in the car before we got there, you know, Mom, there's this one kid, and I feel bad because he's kind of goofy, but like then everyone kind of makes fun of him, and then I don't know if it bothers him because he doesn't act like it, but I feel bad about that. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess you can just think about what you could do about it. And then, so we went to this outing, and then afterward we all went and got dinner, and there was a lot of kids all everywhere. And about halfway through the meal, I looked over, and John Paul had seated himself right next to this kid and made sure that he stayed with him the whole meal. And you know, this kid might not have even noticed it or recognized it, but to John Paul, he was like, he's a doer. So it wasn't just enough to say, I recognize the situation and I feel bad about it, but it was like, I have to do something about this. And so he did. So,
John Paul.
Yeah.
He'll do it, that's
yeah.
for sure. And Rocco, what about Rocco?
Rocco is probably the most intuitive of our kids. And I think that as he's kind of figuring out what that is, because he's young, that
great gift.
It is a great gift, and he feels a lot of things very deeply, and I think that he's starting to learn how to feel things beyond what is happening to him. So what I really appreciate about Rocco is that he loves quality time and he loves knowing that he's important to somebody. And so, and he also is good at letting other people know they're important to him. And he's really good to his little cousins and to friends that come over who are younger than him. He's very good at making them feel at home and looking to be kind to them.
I love when you talk. You should just run this podcast.
I don't want to do that.
but I just love listening to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what about, all right.
What about Dominic?
Yeah, big Nico there.
So Dominic is your little, like, mini-me, which is so funny because it took 5 kids.
He loves to hug you.
He does. He's a hugger. He loves to hug.
I love to hug you.
I know. I know you do. I know. I'm not so much a hugger,
You're not a
but I don't mind hugs. I like it. But yeah, no, Dominic is he is a great joy. He brings a great joy to our family. He's comic relief whenever we need it. He is very good at making us laugh. Sometimes it's not appropriate because, as many of you know, and you have 5 kids, the youngest one learns a lot of things a lot sooner than the older ones did. So, and when it comes out of the mouth of
PG-13 at 6.
Sometimes when it comes out of the mouth of a 6-year-old, you're kind of like, oh, that's not. I mean, it's funny, but it's not appropriate. So yeah, but he does. He has a big, genuine heart too, and he really he loves to bring joy. Like, that's what he loves. And I think he does that.
Yeah, and the reason I ask you that, first of all, he's the hopeful encourager, and Rocco's the thankful soul. And we have these names, and whenever we're ready, even during Christmas, it amps up. Advent, Christmas time, it amps up. Those names remind us of who they are, not what they're doing, because it can be self-focused, especially for kids.
Yeah.
Even adults, it can be self-focused because you're trying to get your list done and you're forgetting about everything around you and forgetting about the people that still need you, even though you have your list, and it can be stressful.
I think he's talking about me.
Hey, I
have a lot of lists. No, you're right.
I have a list. Whatever, you're gonna find my list.
Oh yeah, your lists are all over. But it is true though that, like, the list can become a god.
Yeah.
It can become something that takes over the very people you are desiring to serve on the list. So yeah, you're right.
And something that we strive to do, we did it at a family meeting, this past week, is really like not focus on everybody's faults, but focus on how we can be on a mission together. Yep. You gotta go during Christmas time. You have to go back to what the mission of your family is, and if you don't have a mission for your family, you're like, what do you mean by a mission statement that everybody knows, that everybody understands, that everybody thinks about often or when we get distracted, and go, what's our mission? And our mission is to be grateful, to love Jesus first and others no matter what. Right. And that's our mission. And man, I'm getting unfocused. I need to get back on that mission. Or, hey, the others thinking about it. I think sometimes we lose focus of what the true mission of Christmas is. And the mission of Christmas is to encourage, is to love, is to bring support to people who are hurting. That's why Jesus came to this earth, to bring support. And I had you share about each of the kids. We'll definitely have them watch this because I think it'll build them up huge. You do it all the time, but I think, you being on here, making the sacrifice to do it, they're like, whoa, Mom, holy cow, because you rarely do this, so thanks for doing that. And our kids, will be able to go back to that moment, so I appreciate that. And I think it's important for us to think about those people during Christmas, that we can look in the eyes. It's like my sister. I want to do my best to look at her as much as I bust her chops and mess with her because she's my big sister, my second mom. I always tell her, and that gets her frustrated. But to go, what a hero you are. Because she is.
Yes.
She is. I mean, the challenges she faced and the journey she's on and how she continues to press forward. Yeah. She's a hero. But I don't want to look at, she didn't do this or she didn't do that. Right. I want to do my best to really focus on the hero she is. Yeah. And you might not think my sister's a hero because of what she, but I don't really care. It doesn't matter what you think of my sister. It matters what I think of her. And I think she's a gift. And I think that each person in our family, we can put them on a list and write down or think about all the ways that they've been heroic, or all the ways that they've done these little things with great love, and point those out during Christmas. You know, things like, hey, I didn't jump on the family text at all this year, you know, which I don't do very often.
Yes.
Right? We all know. But you always chime in and say such kind things. And even something as simple as that you noticed that.
Yeah.
And hey, when you came over for Thanksgiving, what that meant to me and my family. I knew you wanted to be at Thanksgiving. I saw that, and like that meant a lot to me. Mm-hmm. I think we have to think about all the people in our family and do that. My grandmother, if you didn't listen to her podcast, I'm giving her another pitch because you got to check this out. Because she says something that's so important. She says, yeah, look, we had guys in our family that didn't do such good things.
Right.
And I called them out for it to their face. But nobody else can call them out for that. Nobody, because that's my brother, that's my
sister. She would stand up for them outside of the relationship, but she was good at making sure they knew where she stood privately.
And they appreciate, and I think that's what we need.
Like an element of loyalty.
Yes. Yeah. And we've lost that in our families, you know.
Yeah.
It's like this family against this family, or is this family better than that family? Or no, it's about how can we see the greatness in family members, and that's what's on my heart, that, at least for right now, like getting ready for Christmas. How can I really write these people's names down, and how can I see that? And you know, I've been writing this book on encouragement, so that's really all I'm thinking about. Like, and it evolved to this new term that I call unconditional encouragement, which is now the new title, and it's been hard to think about that.
Yeah.
It's been hard because unconditional encouragement is difficult.
Yes.
But it is so freeing, and it is so adventurous, and it is so encouraging. And I don't know, your thoughts when you hear unconditional encouragement, you know, what do you hear when you think of that?
Well, I think it flies in the face of a lot of what our culture tells us now, which is basically, you know, unless somebody is in agreement with you, you don't need to say much nice things to them or about them. So I think in that sense, it just calls us to a higher standard than what we're experiencing, you know, each day. Unconditional encouragement is a challenge. It's a challenge to the very core of our humanity, which really, much like what the culture is saying and doing now, our humanity tells us it's okay not to encourage somebody if we've been hurt by them, if they have done something that we find repulsive or unkind or horrific, that we should not encourage them because they haven't earned it. But unconditional encouragement really is calling us to something that has nothing to do with what we've earned, much like we didn't earn Christ's death for us on the cross. We didn't earn that. He did it anyway. And so who are we to decide whether or not we can offer an encouragement to someone else who may really need it?
Yeah. Because
maybe no one else sees them for that. I think it also, like I've been thinking about it over the last few days because we've been talking about it at home, and that term really also reminds me that we are called to unconditionally encourage others. And like we were saying earlier, like sometimes an encouragement is accountability, right? Sometimes it's an encouragement to say to someone, I love you enough to say to you that I don't believe that what you're doing or saying in this moment or in this situation are who you truly are, who God is calling you to be. That's an encouragement. That's recognizing that you're willing to put yourself on the line and say, I care more about you being who God wants you to be, at least from what I see as someone who loves you. And we don't know, we don't know everybody's situation. We don't know what they're going through or being called to, but at least we can offer that in love and in charity, not in self-righteousness.
Yeah. And for me, it speaks to me because, you know, as hard as it is to be encouraging to people that are just, oh my God, people can be really hurtful.
Yeah.
At Christmas time or at anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know the freeing feeling it is when you wanted to crush somebody and you actually could? Like one of my most poignant times of this was when that guy in front of 500 leaders, you know, which could have been events for me to go speak at these events, and just lambasted me. I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Crushed me. There are people coming out telling me, this guy said this about you. He said, I don't even know who this guy is. Mm-hmm. And then I got, called it grace. It was a free gift that I was able to do, to live out unconditional encouragement. Mm-hmm. And I got to sit by him at lunch the next day, and I invited him to hang out, and he accepted, which was unconditional encouragement, because he didn't really think I had anything to offer the world at that time, you know, or anybody that I'd speak with.
Yeah.
And when I hung out with him, and we went around and we shared the most challenging times we were going through in our life, I can never forget this as long as I live. And when he shared his daughter was raped, he shared his son goes through, you know, depression. And then a few years later, I get a prayer card that his son ended up giving up on life. Mm-hmm. The freeing moment I had,
right,
that I encouraged that guy to say, hey, let me be curious about why he's judging me, not judge him back, gave me the freedom to continue to live that out.
Yeah.
And it's not a feeling, no. it's a freedom that you get that actually, it's adventurous, but yet it's peaceful.
Yeah.
It's peaceful. And I think unconditional encouragement, as I've been thinking about, it's an adventure ride, but then it also is freedom and peace.
Yeah.
Because that's why I live for Jesus.
Right.
Because when I was in my own selfish adventure, in my own chained up world of thinking I was doing good, but I was actually a mess, he saved my life.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to give you unconditional encouragement.
Right.
I'm going to love you no matter what.
Yeah.
And so it's been a beautiful thing. And the most beautiful thing about it is, if I were to take credit for this, I can't. So the agent I'm working with right now, who's not a devout Christian,
right,
he's the one who gave me the title.
Right.
And for me, that's like probably one of the most beautiful things.
Yeah.
Because we could be not on the same page on 10 areas, and we could be on the same page on another 10 areas. But we all want unconditional encouragement.
Yeah.
We all desire it.
Yeah.
And it meant the world to me that we've been working on this. And I'm not worried about, you know, what he believes or doesn't believe. I'm worried about just being present to him. And I think Presence, going by Susie Kelly on that podcast, that really spoke to me when I was doing it. Because I think you and I are like that. Like, I always say the toughest time of my life will be when, you know, I would never want to be on this earth without you. You know, I can't do it. Like today. Maybe I'll be able to do it 20 years from now. Yeah. But I know I couldn't do it. Now you're like, it's got to be a little breezier for me. No, I know you. But I'm just saying.
I don't think that.
No, I know. But like for me, like I just want you to know. But it's not because of what you say or do. It's just that you're present to me, and you're always present, and you're even better at being present. And I want to thank you for that, and thank you for your presence in my life. And you are, you know, whatever that encouragement coach, you know, whatever anybody thinks of it, you are one of my biggest encouragement coaches. Let's share a little bit about Team Amazing here. So what's your thoughts just about, you know, Team Amazing and the journey? Because I don't know. It kind of like just happened.
Yeah, it did.
Some people
like everything else kind of feels like it just happens along the way. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, like you have some idea and then some other things happen. Team Amazing definitely was one of the things that just happened. Yeah.
But I've always wanted to build a gym, and this is how I saw an opportunity that, one, I could hang out with my kids, as you know, JoJo, and it gave us a great time to spend time together. That's the best part. That's what I miss most. We're actually grieving that right now. Yeah. And then the second thing is it also gave us a perspective on what the world's going through.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Sure.
So share a little bit about Team Amazing and what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, it came about in such a way that we certainly did not plan it.
No.
There was just a time where you were home, so there wasn't a lot of travel, and so you had the time, and someone invited you to coach, and so you started coaching, not really foreseeing how that would pan out in the long run, but as one of the main goals was to be able to coach your own kids when that became something that wouldn't work in one setting, not necessarily by your own choices, but nonetheless, then you started looking for ways to coach your boys. And so in the process of that, so many other incredible blessings have come. So it's really cool, I think, to see how God uses the natural elements of our life to help us come to what he's calling us to. And I think in this case, it was, coaching your kids, and then it opened up this door to something so much more. And it has been an incredible blessing for me personally to get to know all these kids and their families. I do find them to be pretty special people, and they're all from many different walks of life and many different backgrounds and family scenarios, some of which can be a little heartbreaking. And I think what's been beautiful is that this team, because it is exactly what you're talking about, looking for ways to encourage others, has given everybody present an opportunity to be encouraged for who they are. See that affect everyone differently. No matter where they're coming from, they all had an experience that was good and helped them to be more of who God is making them to be. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the question, but that's my answer.
No, I appreciate it. And I know this is the third time, so I've been filmed for like 6.5 years of my life.
Yes.
People follow me around with cameras,
yeah.
and I know each experience has been a different process for you.
Yeah.
And the one question I have for you is for those that don't know, they've filmed the team for 2 years. And there's going to be a six-part docuseries coming out and being distributed. We don't know who's going to be distributed by yet, but it's going to be distributed, and it'll get out there, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts as this goes on, and your hopes for it?
This is not really my jam.
No, I know that.
I prefer privacy and anonymity and all the things. So, and I worked hard to try to implement that in our family life, because I think it's important to give kids that as they're growing up, because we don't want to be remembered or memorialized for some of our childhood things. So I've always worked really hard to make sure that has not been their life.
And you've done a great job at that.
So in this situation, I think the integrity of the production company is what gave me more peace than anything else, is to recognize that they really just see this as an opportunity to share a story and not have an angle or an agenda.
Or look for views.
Right. It's not clickbait or anything like that. It's just, this is the lives of the people who have been affected by this. And my hope is that in the end, those very people who are part of this project are the people who are the most proud of it.
Yeah.
And if that's not the case, then that's not a good sign.
Yeah. And so I just want to thank you for, no matter what, interesting project we have coming up, you've always cheered me on throughout the end, and And I think the one way you've cheered me on the most is being the great mother you are. I mean, you're a great wife and you're exceptional at that. We do have date nights and we spend time together and we enjoy that. But you've put everything into your kids. And so what would be your words, don't worry, this is the last question. Big question for you.
Oh, a big one.
Yeah,
Great.
It's a big one. What words of encouragement would you give mothers out there that are listening? Like, what would you share with them? We shared about a lot today, but what would you share with them just as their mother on how to be the best mother they can be?
That is a big question.
I know. Okay, how do you
be the best mother you can? How can I be the best mother that I can be? I think honestly that in the whole process of motherhood, it's such an evolution. We grow, we change ourselves. I think we change as a result of mothering. I think we see in our kids things about us that either need work or need to be more reflective of God. And so my thought on motherhood is, no regrets, just like unconditional encouraging. Like, I don't want to look back and wish I did things a different way. And so I'm just doing what I think is the right thing for us. And I think that that's an important thing for all mothers to just pray about and discern and listen to God in that time, and then do the things, even if they're hard. Do the things, to be present, to be loving, to be encouraging, and to call your kids on. Don't be afraid of that accountability, because if we want to turn them out to be productive, God-fearing, God-loving members of society, then it requires correction too. Just like we need it now. I'm in my 40s and I still need correction, so.
And you know me, I got corrected at least 4 or 5 times on this podcast.
All right, that's what I'm here for.
Unconditional encouragement. I got some accountability coming. No, and I think something we do in our family that I think every family should do is that, we find time to say what we're sorry for and what we're thankful for. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a simple thing you can do with your family. And when a dad, and I'm speaking to dads, when you can look at your kids and say, hey, I dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
Then that gives them the freedom to say, hey, I don't have to be perfect.
Right.
Hey, I don't have it all together.
Right.
And then when you not just be thankful at Thanksgiving or Christmas or at their birthday time, but you're thankful in the everyday walks of life, they see this isn't just because it's a part of the process.
Right.
This is because my dad or my mom loves me. So what I ask you to do, hopefully enjoy this podcast. I probably enjoyed it the most out of all of you. Smooch or no smooch. All right, But no, I enjoyed this more than anybody because I just enjoy being with my wife. I enjoy spending time with her. I enjoy, the trips, the hangouts, the encouragement. I'm going to enjoy Christmas much better this year, Every year it's great, but this year I'm going to enjoy it because there is not Christmas forever. Remember that. It could be 10 more, it could be 2 more, it could be 5 more with the people you love. But however many Christmases you get, make sure it's a Christmas that's worthwhile. A Christmas of giving, a Christmas of loving, a Christmas of encouraging. Anything you have for everyone to close out here? Come on, we'll give you the mic one last time. You don't want to close out with anything? No.
Happy Advent.
Happy Advent. She's saying happy Advent. It's a journey, all right? It's a journey to Christmas. Thank you for listening, and thank you for joining Encouragement Conquers All podcast. You can check out all the other podcasts, or you can subscribe on, YouTube and check out all the podcasts. But don't forget my grandmother. She's the best. All right, have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica. Make sure to subscribe and follow to be notified when the newest episodes of the podcast go live. You can find contact information and important links in the show notes. Stay tuned for the next episode.